I would like to ask Coach Strong to make a brief opening statement. Coach, just how things have gone as preparations head toward tomorrow night's game. Then we'll take questions from the floor.
You know, I cannot say enough to Paul and Jack and the Sugar Bowl committee for the warm hospitality they show in our program. And we appreciate it. And I know from our staff and from our players, they've had a great time. But we know it's time to lock in and focus. Put an outstanding team in the University of Florida. Coach Muschamp has done an outstanding job. You look at that football team, they're one game away from playing for a national championship. And I think about just the speed and the quickness and just how aggressive that football team is. Look at them on offense. Driscoll's an outstanding football player. Gillisley, a lot of those guys I know because I recruited a lot of them there. You know, defensively, you look at Elam, you look at them up front, just big and physical and how they control the line of scrimmage. An outstanding defense, but that's always been a trademark at the University of Florida. Always play outstanding defense there. Our football team, we practice well. You look at it, it's 5 weeks, and we haven't played a football game. And I just had a team meeting this morning, and I was just telling them, you know, it's all about technique. It's all about fundamentals now. And it's all about us right now just focusing on ourselves and making sure that we lock in and we stay focused, and our preparation has to be there. We're 1 day away from game time now, and I'm just excited for our football team. I'm just excited we're here in the Sugar Bowl. You look at it, 3 years ago, we took over this program. Our seniors are 24-14 the last 3 years. They've been to the Beef O'Brady Bowl, they've been to the Belk Bowl, and now they have a chance to go to a BCS Bowl. And we know this. We expect to have an outstanding showing, and I'm excited for our football team.
We'll go ahead and open it for questions. As always, if you'll raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you. Let's start here on the second row. Pat.
Charlie, do you see anything in this defense that reminds you at all of 06 or 08 defenses you had at Florida?
Well, Pat, you look at that defense now and you think about it. You look at Bostic and you think of Spice. You look at Elam, you think of Major Wright. You look at those guys up front, and it's just an outstanding football team. And just defensively, you know, pass efficiency, they was, what, number 1 and number 2 in the country. And there's all categories they led. And just they're a really good team defensively.
Left side, about the 5th row.
Yes, Charlie, 2 questions. First is your reaction to Boise State announcing that it's going to stay in the Mountain West, and are you afraid that this is going to cost the Big East its automatic bid for next season, your last one in the league? And also, I don't know if it's been pointed out to you or not even realized, you're the first African-American head coach in the Sugar Bowl. Do you feel like the success of you, Kevin Sumlin, David Shaw, James Franklin, has made race less of an issue in coaching hirings going down the road?
Well, if you look at, just address the second question, if you look at just over what has happened the last number of years, then race hasn't been an issue with the hiring of coaches, because you look at Texas A&M hiring Summy, and then you look at Vandy hiring Franklin and myself at Louisville. So the opportunity's there for us. And now when we have a chance to go out and be successful, then it opened up more eyes. You know, the first question with Boise, I think the Big East is going to be fine. I think there's teams out there that want to become a member of the Big East, so I think that'll happen for them.
Right side, 3rd row.
Charlie, Tim Sullivan, Louisville Courier-Journal. What is the state of your run defense at this point? It was an area of some concern going down the stretch, and particularly vis-a-vis the Florida running game. Is that a worry, or have you resolved it?
Well, it's always a worry, Tim, because you look at it, you like to play physical, and the only way you can play physical, you have to be able to run the football, and Florida does a great job of stopping the run. I think the last 3 games we had not done a good job at all of running the football. You know, since Sonoris has went down, Jeremy has carried shoulder most of the load, but it doesn't. You know, it's not all on Jeremy's shoulder. We have to do a better job of blocking, and that's what we're not doing right now. We're not doing a better job of blocking. We're not controlling the line of scrimmage, and that has to happen. In order to run the football, you have to be able to control the line of scrimmage. That's what we're not doing right now. That's versus their run defense, our run defense, my run defense. Oh, okay. So, well, we had to do a better job of stopping the run ourselves. I mean, but you look at you look at us over the last few weeks. I think that now, the last few games, we've done a better job, and we have to continue to be better. And you have to stop the run.
Left side, center of the room.
Charlie, Fred Cowgill, CBS Louisville. Just talk about Teddy, where he is right now, the last 4 or 5 weeks since the injuries. What will he be able to do and not do? Will Stein play? How will you manage this situation?
Well, Fred, Teddy, the last few weeks have really been to his advantage because now he's been able to get healthy. And you look at it, our game plan is all about Teddy. So Teddy's healthy now, so we're going to progress. And if Stein has to come in and play, we will use him. But right now, it's on Teddy. Yeah, I'm not saying he's 100%, but he's going to be better than he was in the Rutgers game.
Right side, fourth row.
Coach, you know as well as anyone how rabid Gator fans have been in the past. Are you surprised that you guys have doubled up Florida as far as tickets sold, and how much did Louisville's fan support have to do with you wanting to stay there?
Well, if you look at University of Florida, I think that it's a program that has so much tradition over the last few years, and now that what has happened here at University of Louisville, it's our second BCS bowl game. So our fans are really excited about us getting to a BCS bowl, and I don't know if it had anything to do with me saying I wanted to stay, but I think our fans are going to support us no matter what, because now that we have a chance to get to a BCS, the last one we was at the Orange Bowl. We ended up beating Wake Forest. Now we have a chance to come here to the Sugar Bowl. So our fans are really excited.
We've got a couple more on the right, and then we'll come toward the back left side. Who has one here? Go ahead.
Coach, is it a motivating factor? You hear about the superiority of the Southeastern Conference, a consensus that it's the best conference in college football. Does that motivate you guys to win this game? And secondly, do you feel more comfortable in the underdog role?
Well, if you look at the Southeastern Conference, just look at the national championships over the last few years, so it speaks for itself. And now you have a chance to go play a team from the Southeastern Conference. I think that our team, they're really excited about it, because when you hear college football, everyone always talk about the Southeastern Conference. But you look at the Southeastern Conference, and not so much of the players, but the fan support. Because when you go into those stadiums, when you go to LSU, you go to Auburn, you go to Tennessee, look at the fans and how they turn out. And I think that is an advantage for those teams in that conference also.
Same row, middle.
Charlie, Jason Anderson, ESPN 680 in Louisville. I know you want to win every single game, but how important do you view this opportunity against Florida as more exposure for your program, a good showing and leading into the future, and maybe even setting your team up for next year?
Well, Jace, I always tell them, you look at a bowl game, it does. And I say to them, this is the first game of next season, and it shows us exactly where we are. And now you have a team it is a really good football team. And now we have to have a good showing in this football game, because we need to know exactly where we are. And it's going to be a measuring stick for our program. And it's going to either show us how far behind we are or how much further we need to go.
Toward the back, left side.
Howie Lindsay, Rivals.com in Louisville. Coach, you've had some guys sit out with sickness over the past couple of days. How has that affected your preparation, and do you expect all those guys to be back?
Well, the sickness, it hasn't really affected us all. Guys are getting a little bug here and there, but they're all bouncing back in their practicing, so they'll be prepared to go play the game.
Staying back left. Go ahead.
Charlie, Ken Spencer, WHAS 11 in Louisville. It's been a month since your team has played a game. I know you guys have been practicing, but is there any concern about just maybe, rust and kind of getting into the flow? Because obviously you guys want to get, into the game real quick.
Well, Ken, I always go back to just when you start up fall camp, and you start fall camp, and it's, 4 or 5 weeks before you play that first game. Even though now we play 12, you've been off 5 weeks. So now it's all about, when you get to practice, it's about the fundamentals and techniques and getting the guys back in the rhythm and the routine of practicing. And you haven't really hit another opponent. You've just been practicing against yourselves. So now it's going to be a great opportunity, but it's key that we just continue to just focus in and lock on fundamentals and technique and have those type of practices.
Let's take one more back left.
Coach, Kent Taylor, Wave TV in Louisville. Can you kind of take us through what you think the focus of your team, where you gauge it at this point after you came back from a little bit of a Christmas break, and now that you've been in New Orleans for a couple of days and the practices down here, the focus you've seen from them, and what's going to happen over the next 24 hours for your team?
Well, I think with the focus, even before we came to New Orleans, we start practicing in Louisville, and they understand who they're playing, and they understand the bowl game. And I think that's really big that now they have a chance to get to a BCS bowl game. And the opponent, University of Florida, it speaks for itself. And I don't have to say much, because a lot of these players on our team are from the state of Florida, so they know a lot of the players that they're going up against. So the focus and where we need to be. As far as their mindset, they understand this University of Florida, and it's the Southeastern Conference, and we're in the Sugar Bowl.
First row right here.
Charlie, given your history with Florida over the years and all the guys that you recruited that were here the last couple of years, how hard was it for you to watch what they went through in 2010 and 2011?
Well, those guys were all young at that time, but I knew that coaching staff still. So I knew that coaching staff, eventually once these players grew up, they were going to be really good players. And that has happened. And if you look at them right now, look where how much they're growing pains and now the effect of it, and look where they are.
Did it affect you at all, or bothered you watching them have such a hard time in previous years?
Well, I had hard times myself now. I was 76, so I couldn't worry about them. I was struggling myself.
Left side, third row.
Charlie, Chris Price, WCJB, in Gainesville, Florida. What does your time, though, at Florida mean to you, the time that you spent coaching there?
Well, I spent so many years there, Chris. It was a special time for me. And if you look at it, I think that when you start from the 80s and the 90s, I was able to work with every head coach in that program, and it was special times for me. And, I really built my career there, and it was some great wins, great losses, but you always learn from it. And I was able to develop and become a really good football coach because of my experience there.
And can you give me an estimate of how many head coaching offers you had over your years and why you felt Louisville was finally the right job to take?
Well, I just don't know the number, but when I think about the University of Louisville, and I think about Tom Jurich and our president, Dr. Ramsey, and they gave me that first opportunity, and it's all about loyalty. And you know what? A lot of times when you have little success, everybody starts saying, "Hey, let's go try to go hire this guy away." But because of them giving me my first opportunity, it's hard to say and walk away. And then for the players that I recruited there, you always talk to them about trust. You talk to them about commitment. And a lot of times I tell those players that a lot of people have walked out of their life. Now all of a sudden here I am, the head football coach, and I'm going to walk away from them. Who will they ever trust? But I couldn't do it to that university, and I couldn't do it to that group of players.
Right side.
Hi, Coach. Steve Andrews, WDRB-TV in Louisville. With Boise State leaving next year, and once you get to the ACC, this will take care of itself. But with Boise State leaving, you don't have a quote-unquote marquee opponent on the schedule. And with the unique opportunity of all the talent you have coming back, how critical is it to replace them and maybe get a marquee opponent on that schedule, maybe in the non-conference?
Well, see, Tom will do everything possible, and I'm going to leave that up to him where if he feels like we got to get that marquee opponent. But still, though, we still have next season to worry about. Let's get through this game, and then I'm going to start worrying about Boise. Not so much Boise, but worried about my own team.
Front row, left side.
Charlie, how key is going into Florida and getting players to kind of where your program has come from, and how big was it to go to Miami and particularly and pull Teddy out of there?
Well, it's key because if you look at the state of Florida, there's so many players there. You have Miami, you have Florida State, you have Florida, and everyone else comes in there after they get who they want. But there's still some outstanding players still left there. And getting Teddy was, if you look at just how valuable he is to our program right now, probably one of our best football players, it was key because we needed that quarterback. And to go get the rest of the players that just built around him. I sent out there the other day and just looking at, and not to take away anything from the state of Kentucky because they're outstanding players in Louisville and within the state. But once we recruit that state, then we're able to go to Florida. But because of the ties and the connections that we have and the relationships that we have built with the high school coaches there.
Left side, center. Then we're going to come up here to the right, and then we'll come back to you, sir.
Charlie Fred again. How do you see this game playing out in your head? What will be some of the keys for both teams? And if this were to be a win for you, how much would it mean to you and the program?
Well, what's going to be key is not giving up the big play and being able to just stop the run. Both opponents, you look at Florida, look at us, being able to stop the run and try to make someone one-dimensional, both programs. But, it's going to be key for our program just because here we have a chance to go play a Southeastern Conference opponent, an opponent that's one game away from playing for a national championship. But, all games are big, so it's great that we're in this position that we're in for it.
Right side, second row, CL.
Charlie, can you give us a sense of, I guess, the sentimental value? Is this equivalent to maybe playing your alma mater, or do you just kind of tune all of that out?
Well, see, I guess what really hasn't hit me yet is I haven't seen many of the players. So probably when I walk into the stadium for the first time tomorrow night and you just look across the sideline, you see a lot of those players that you were able to recruit. Then it kind of hits you. Then then once you hear the band rev up and they start playing their different songs that you're so familiar with, and it had a function last night. Saw a lot of the administrators. So it'll be something special. I mean, you kind of sit there probably. I've probably been a daze for a second, but I still got to get my team refocused. I got to get refocused and get my team going also.
Left side toward the back.
Coach Adam Lefkoe, WHAS 11 News. Florida, historically known for their special teams prowess. Your team, it's been a rough year in that regard. What is your concern in that avenue?
Well, they say you had to play all three phases, and their special teams have been outstanding. And you're right, we kind of struggle some games with our special teams, but it's always a key element in a game. Special teams is going to play a critical element in this game. So we just have to make sure that we don't give up the big play in special teams. And when it's time to go cover, we're going to have to go cover. And it was time for us to return. We had to get some return yardage.
We have time for 2 more questions. Third row, and then we'll come right behind to the fourth row.
This is a 2-part question, so it only counts as one.
All right. We'll let you
Charlie, in the weeks since your decision to stay, how has that resonated with recruits, with just the profile of the program, and the second part, where does your contract negotiation stand? Has that been resolved?
Dale, I don't know where that contract negotiations stand right now, but just with recruits, we're still recruiting the same guys, and so recruiting is always big. You have to go recruit the best players, and that's what we're going to try to do is go recruit the best players. Now that we're moving in a different conference, I think that's really going to help us get in some homes that we weren't able to get into when we were in the Big East. So recruiting is always critical, and that is the lifeblood of your program. You have to be able to recruit well. But the contract, as me and Tom will talk about that later.
This will be our final question for Coach Strong.
Coach, you said you think the Big East is going to be fine. What makes you say that? From the outside looking in, it looks like the conference is disintegrating. And why do you think where did the Big East go wrong?
I don't know where it went wrong, Mike, but I just think that they'll find teams out there, and I think there's still a lot of teams out there that are not within a conference, and I think that maybe that's how they can funnel and try to get those teams to become a part of the conference. But it's always tough because you look at everyone's trying to build and everyone's trying to position themselves to go get the better teams for their conferences.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate everybody being here.